a severely injured dog, abandoned and left to die, but a dedicated rescue team gave her a second chance. Curious how Natilla's journey of survival and recovery turned her into a loving companion. Stay tuned for today's story on Pets in Love and find out. There was once a little dog named Natilla who had known only neglect and cruelty in her short life. Abandoned, left to fend for herself, she was discovered in a garbage dump, tied up, starving, and suffering from painful infected wounds. Her body was small, frail, and weak, ravaged by maggots, and her once beautiful coat was matted and dirty. But despite her horrific condition, there was one thing that remained unwavering: her spirit. Even in the midst of such suffering, Natilla still managed to wag her tail. Her story began when her owners made the cruel decision to abandon her, leaving her tied up in the dirt without food, water, or care. The streets were unforgiving, and she had no chance of survival on her own. But little did they know, Natilla had the heart of a warrior. Even as her body weakened, she never lost hope. Her tail would wag ever so gently, as if silently pleading for someone to rescue her from her desperate fate. One fateful day, the rescue team received an urgent call about a dog in distress. The message was clear: a little dog had been abandoned, wounded, and left to die. The rescuers wasted no time, driving out to the remote location where Natilla had been left. As they arrived, the sight was nothing short of heartbreaking. There she was, tied to a post, surrounded by trash, her body covered in sores and her eyes filled with fear, yet somehow still full of hope. Her spirit was intact, even if her body was broken. It was impossible to ignore her. The rescuers gently untied her and cradled her in their arms, aware that they needed to act quickly to save her life. Natilla was carefully placed in the vehicle, surrounded by warmth and love, as the journey from Buenaventura to Pereira began. The road was long and fraught with uncertainty. Natilla was not alone. She had found a group of people willing to fight for her, and they would do whatever it took to save her. When Natilla finally arrived at the shelter, she was immediately taken to the clinic. Her body was in bad shape, infected wounds, maggots, and severe malnutrition. She was terrified and weak, but there was something undeniably beautiful in her eyes, something that said, "I want to live." The medical team got to work immediately, carefully cleaning her wounds, giving her fluids, and starting her on antibiotics. But the road to recovery was going to be long. The rescuers were incredibly careful not to push Natilla too hard. They knew that her recovery was a delicate balance. Too much, too soon, could undo all the progress she had made, while too little could hinder her healing. Every day, the dedicated team checked her wounds, cleaned them meticulously, and gave her the medication she needed to fight off the infection. It was a slow process, one that required an immense amount of patience. Each small victory, each wound that began to close, each ounce of weight she gained felt like a triumph. But even with all their care, there were moments of doubt. There were days when they weren't sure if Natilla's frail little body was strong enough to withstand the long road ahead. Would she make it? Would her spirit hold on long enough for her to heal fully? It was heartbreaking at times to watch her struggle, but despite the pain and exhaustion, Natilla never gave up. There was a quiet strength in her, a determination that was impossible to ignore. What became even more apparent as the days passed was that Natilla's journey wasn't just about physical recovery. The emotional scars she carried ran just as deep. She had been abandoned by the very people who were supposed to love and care for her. To her, all humans had been sources of pain and rejection. So when she first arrived at the shelter, she was understandably frightened, withdrawn, and wary of anyone who came near her. But the shelter team was committed to restoring not just her health, but her spirit. They never forced her to interact. Instead, they approached her gently, speaking softly and giving her the space she needed to feel safe. They took their time, letting her come to them on her own terms. Slowly, the trust began to rebuild. Each day, they offered her comfort, and with each act of kindness, Natilla's walls came down a little more. She started to let her guard down, realizing that not all humans would hurt her. Her tail, which had once barely moved, began to twitch ever so slightly. Then it started to wag, a little and then a lot. As the days turned into weeks, her progress was nothing short of miraculous. The scared, broken dog who had arrived at the shelter was gradually replaced by a playful, happy companion. But her recovery wasn't without challenges. Though her body was gaining strength, Natilla still struggled physically. Her legs, once weak and trembling, required a great deal of care and support as she learned to stand and walk again. Every time she tried to rise, her legs would wobble, and she would fall back down. It was a frustrating process, but she never let it defeat her. The shelter team worked with her each day, gently encouraging her to take small steps, always reminding her that progress was slow but steady. They would hold her up when needed, helping her find her balance, all the while reassuring her that it was okay to struggle. It was okay to be weak as long as she kept trying. With each attempt, Natilla grew stronger. Each day, her legs grew steadier, and the trembling became less pronounced. The effort was painful at times, and there were moments when it seemed like the progress was too slow. But Natilla never gave up. She had the heart of a warrior. With each fall, she learned how to get back up again, showing the team just how resilient she was. Through it all, there was a profound transformation in Natilla. She would wag her tail furiously when the team approached. Eager for their affection, she would run around the yard, chasing after the other dogs and playfully rolling in the grass. The brightness in her eyes returned, and her coat began to shine once more. It was as though she had gone through a complete metamorphosis, blossoming from the broken creature she once was into a joyful and energetic companion. Yet, as much as the team loved Natilla, they knew that the ultimate goal was to find her a forever home. A family who would love her unconditionally, a place where she could finally experience the happiness and peace she had always deserved. After months of care and recovery, that moment came. The day Natilla was adopted marked one of the happiest moments at the shelter. Her new family arrived, eager to welcome her into their hearts and home. From the very first moment they met, it was clear that this was meant to be. With a heart full of love, Natilla was finally going to live the life she had always deserved. A life free from abandonment and suffering, and filled with affection, warmth, and care. Her new family vowed to give her everything she had been denied for so long. As time passed, Natilla grew stronger and more confident. Her body filled out, her coat became even shinier, and her playful energy seemed endless. She ran freely around the yard, savoring life in a way she never had before. With each passing day, she formed an even deeper bond with her family, always by their side, ready for cuddles, play, or adventures. To anyone who met her, it was clear that Natilla was no longer the broken dog she had once been. She was a thriving, joyful companion, blossoming into a loving and cherished member of the family. Natilla's journey is a beautiful testament to the power of love and second chances. From a broken and abandoned dog to a happy, beloved companion, her story highlights the incredible resilience of animals and the profound impact of compassion. What an incredible journey Natilla has had, from a broken spirit to a loving companion. Her transformation is a true testament to the power of compassion and second chances. Do you believe in the power of rescue? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for being part of this journey. If you find our video interesting, please give it a big thumbs up and share it with others. Finally, don't forget to turn on our bell and subscribe to our channel Pets in Love so you don't miss any of our new videos. Thank you for your support. Wishing you all peace, happiness. Take care, and we'll see you in the next one.